Hi guys, this is Ray from nextforextrade.com. Today is the 13th of August 2019. It's a Tuesday today for our trading day, and it's just coming up to 4:30 a.m. UK time here. So let's just kick off with a couple of trades that I have in the market at the moment. These are AUD, USD and GBP, NZD. So let's first have a look at the let's go alphabetical. Let's look at Aussie USD. So we can see from looking at the daily, compare this to yesterday's analysis just to see how I entered this as well. But we can see that on the daily chart, we do have some lower lows and lower highs. Now, the premise for this trade was, in fact, this most recent move that we saw here. And we've got, we haven't really got lower lows and lower highs per se, but we do have an extension in the price here that our standard deviation channel is around. So we can see that it's currently in the upper edge of our standard deviation channel, giving some inclination that the price could move lower, at least towards our average here, or ideally down towards the lower edge of this standard deviation channel. Let me just check my streaming there, just make sure I am still live. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. Okay, yeah, so we're looking to short this, and the we can see the stop loss is exactly where this line is here. So what I'm this makes a lot more sense on the lower time frames actually, because if we look at the 4 hourly, bear in mind we've got some signs of bearishness on the daily, but the 4 hourly is where we've got a lot more context, because we can see we've got these lower lows and lower highs here. We do have this area of resistance. Just trying to move this. One sec. So I'm just going to delete that. And in fact, come on. Sorry, just trying to clean up this chart. Okay, cool. So, right, we can see we've got a standard deviation channel around this price, which is the exact same move that we saw on the daily. And we've got some clearer indication that there's some resistance around this level. Right? So we've seen it interact with previous, if we zoom in, we've seen it interact with previous highs around here, here, and if we drop to the hourly, we'll see even more contact points. So this gives some context for the daily chart and our for our stop loss based on both the daily chart and the 4 hourly, which is above this area of resistance. So the way this is kind of stacking up is with a 1-to-1 reward to risk. It's still achievable in terms of the price moving to these types of levels here where I've got the take profit. So stop loss above resistance makes sense. We've got a clear indication if we're wrong. And if I drop now to the hourly, we can see how this plays out in there as well. So more contact points on this resistance that we're seeing, and we've started to see in the hourly and the 15-minute more lower lows and lower highs. So if we just look at this most current price action, we can see that it's broken these previous support areas here. It started to move lower. It's finding support at the moment. These previous lows, where it's interacted here. Zoom in a bit more. So it's finding some support here, where there was previous levels, zonal, and pinpoint areas as well. So as it approaches this level, it has had trouble breaking through it, but the price action has been saying lower highs and lower lows, and it has been kind of captured within the standard deviation channel. So reversals, if you like, off of the upper edge here and off of resistance as well. So if we look at this level here, this candle here, I mean, they're kind of softer levels, but it is definitely zonal that we've seen the price have trouble previously move lower and higher than. So it just gives a reference point, really. So the trade is basically going for 1-to-1 reward to risk, stop loss above this level, which is that troublesome resistance area that I was talking about, and sorry, all right, let's delete that. Yeah, so 1-to-1 looks achievable here. So if the price were to start in the coming hours, so the European session, start to move around and start taking out these previous lower highs, I've got enough wiggle room here to at least attempt to take the trade to break even, because the price action I want to see is definitively the price start to make lower lows and lower highs to come towards my take profit. So this is the 4 hourly here, and let's go back to the daily one moment. Hang on, that's what's going on here. There we go. Okay, so that's back to the daily. Don't know what's going on, what went on there. But yeah, so if we look at in the context of the daily, it's one of those days with my chart. It's not, these tools aren't wanting to work. So there's enough scope for take profits around here, or even taking it beyond to, you know, the 2-to-1 kind of area where the price would be oversold as it interacts with the lower standard deviation channel. So yeah, there's I'm happy with this so far, so good. It's too early to really tell how this will play out, but certainly I'll be keeping an eye on these highs here to make sure the price doesn't start to make you know, higher highs and higher lows in that direction. If it does, I'm moving my stop to break even, but it's really just a case on things being dictated by what the price does. So it's a wait and see situation. So let's have a look at the other trade, the GBP Kiwi dollar. Now this was one I talked about yesterday as well. Again on the daily, some nice downward movement, lower highs, lower lows within the standard deviation channel, had interaction up here with the upper standard deviation channel, showing that the price could move lower. Well, it had moved lower. So really our reference point in terms of lower highs is this. But as I would have said yesterday, that stop loss above that level is a bit too conservative, if you like. It's just too far away from the price, because with an entry here, it means the stop loss has to be the same distance even on a 1-to-1 away. So that's 360. It would be roughly around these kind of areas here, which is still achievable, but I just feel it's just too wide a stop. So what I've done on this entry is use a different level for my stop loss, which is still giving enough wiggle room if the price does move adversely against me to take the price back, to take the move my stop back up to break even. So if these previous lower highs, we're looking at what the hourly here, if these lower highs start to get taken out, then I would consider moving my stop to break even. And you know, it's obviously my stop's not all the way up here, which would be super conservative. It's kind of the midpoint. It's really between these lower highs here and that previous highest lower high that we were looking at. So that's the setup on this. The troublesome thing with this is if you look at yesterday's description of this, what I was looking at was for these lows here to be taken out on the 4 hourly, because this is still not ideal, because this isn't really a 2% trade for me. This is why I've only risked £100 on this, 1% rather than 2, because not all the cards are aligned. The 4 hourly is still troublesome. We've got this move, which is the retrace on the daily, and it's still kind of within our standard deviation channel on the 4 hourly. So this could still have the potential to move upwards. So until it's broken past these lows, that hasn't been confirmed. However, the price action on the hourly was good enough for me to determine a reference point for my stop loss. And most of the time it is just really finding some sort of a reference point. It's all relative. And we just want some way to structure the trade so that our risk is controlled and we've got an achievable profit target as well. So what helped me on the hourly and the lower time frames was this level here. So we'd seen the price kind of come up and interact with this resistance level here, where we'd seen these kind of reversals off of this high, and this resistance went back as well to these levels here. It gets a bit more zonal as we go back, but it was previous supports, previous kind of zonal support there. So this gives me some indication that the price could have some trouble moving higher than that level. So it kind of falls into the narrative, if you like, of this downtrend that we're seeing on the daily. There's some correlation in what the time frames are saying. They're agreeing with each other at this point. So I was comfortable enough to consider shorting 1% on this, not the full 2%, because of this here. Not yet breaking, but this may be something that I would consider scaling into and taking a position beyond this 1-to-1 that I have here if I'm around at the charts and I see the price break these lows and pull back on the lower time frames. So I have the trade set up now to just standard take profit orders here to take me out, but it may be something I manage to more profitability if it goes in my favor. And certainly if this level of resistance gets broken, I would consider moving my stop to break even just to protect my capital. So those are the two trades. And as well, one thing to bear in mind with this pair, the GBP NZD, GBP Aussie, quite similar as well. You can see the lot size on this is 0.9, sorry, 0.09 on this. So this is risking £100 overall on a £10,000 starting account. So you just need to bear in mind as well, if you have a smaller account, you may not be able to have a position size that is kind of small enough, because most brokers have 0.01 as a micro lot that you can take. So if this was so let's say this was a £1,000 account, this would still be viable, because you'd still be able to take the position on this to risk just 1% of your account, so £10 overall if it was a £1,000 account. But much lower than that, the position doesn't become viable. You'd need to up your risk in order to take a position like this, and that's not what you want to do. And of course as well, here I've got multiple positions on, something I'll come to in a sec. It's not something I would suggest for new traders, but taking on multiple positions, it's another thing to bear in mind. You're limited to what you can do if you've got smaller account size. You can't really trade in the same way. In fact, in some ways, in my opinion, it's more risky trading with smaller account sizes, because you have to have bigger position sizes to take advantage of a similar move. So being well capitalized is certainly one of the criteria criterion that is important when you trade. And just do your numbers. I mean, trade on a demo account, get used to how to calculate position sizes, how the market can move, how your margin's affected. Just get used to that and really let it sink in over a period of time before you kind of move ahead with your live account and your live money. But yeah, just bear that in mind. Certain pairs are like this, where I can see from the ATR, the average true range on this is doing over almost 200 pips in a day is quite normal for this. Whereas if we go to another pair, was quite sleepy, Euro GBP, I think. Although no, it has got more. Well, this is like 70 pips. So what I'm doing, I've got this indicator on here called the ATR, average true range. This gives an indication of, on average, over the last, it's set to the last 14 days on the daily chart, the average range that the market makes. So we can see, just reading this off, I'm looking to the, let's blow this up, looking to the right, you can see this number here, 0.0076. You need to get accustomed to how those are pipped, but basically saying it's about 76 pips. It's an oscillator, so this will just move up and down. So we can take any one day. So I'm reading it from the most recent move or most recent day, coming down to here to the most recent point. We can see it's about 76. If we go back in time to somewhere like here and look at what it was there, you can see it was about 100 pips on the day. So just knowing the characteristics of a currency pair is important. And, especially when it makes me chuckle sometimes that some of the, I don't know what you call them, the alert providers or educators, inverted commas, quote marks, would describe their success in terms of pips, or have a strategy that is very similar in terms of making X amount of pips across lots of different currency pairs. So making 20 pips, 100 pips per day. It's all relative. If you've got a pair like we looked at on the GBP, NZD, that moves about 200 pips on a day, 20 pips is not that big a deal. Whereas if it's something that moves, 60 pips, 50 pips on a day, it's more than half it's just under half the ATR, the average true range. So it's all relative. So just think of these things when you hear those type of terms of, we make 1,000 pips per month or whatever. It's all relative. What currency pair was it in? How much would you have been able to afford that currency pair in terms of the size of your account, and what was being suggested as a stop loss placement? What was at risk on your account? Take these things into consideration. Just learn to trade. So let's have a look over some of the other pairs as well, just to see what else is happening in the market. I'll just flick through these. I mean, I've got these two positions in, so I'm not looking to take on any more risk at the moment. But let's see what else there is. This is a no. This is a no, and I'm always looking at the daily first of all. So I'm looking for signs of firstly trend to be in place, lower lows, lower highs, or an uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. And I'm using a standard deviation channel around the price, and I'm looking for it to be oversold. If I'm shorting, I'm not looking for it to be overbought, and if I'm going long, I'm looking for it to be oversold. So I can do that in pretty much a glimpse. This instance, not the price action I need. Just so that's a no. Already in this, already discussed that. No, 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 no. No, You can see how quickly I'm making the decision on whether to you know, go any further. So I'm always looking at the daily first for opportunity. If it's not there, there's no point really looking much further. No, 2 overbought, 2 oversold, although that's a nice reversal type candle. What is this? Euro yen. Has it interacted with anything? Let's go up a time frame. So nah, it's not. It's nothing significant. I'm always trying to think, what does this mean on, especially when you see like moves like that, where it's kind of put in a potential reversal candle and it's also interacted with our standard deviation channel. I mean, these videos are more based around trend strategy, so we're looking to trade with the trend when it's in an optimum position. So like I said, when it's shorts, when it's overbought. But I just want to get a feel for what the market is. So when I've seen up close on the daily that we've got this move here and there's no immediate obvious areas of support, I want to see, is this new lows that it's reaching to? How significant is this level here? Because as it approaches like all-time lows, it's highly likely that it's going to bust through quite significantly or bounce off it. So when I was looking back like this, I was trying to see, okay, how significant could that low be? Is it likely to find decent support? And for a long time there wasn't anything on the daily here, which is why I flicked up to the weekly to see if there's anything else that gives that context. I mean, there are some kind of soft, like zonal levels there, but it's nothing. It's nothing really that can act on right at this moment. So let's put this back on a daily and pass on that one. So next, no. This one, the euro, I've been talking about for a while. Same situation. It is. I'm definitely bearish on this overall. It's just this 4 hourly and the lower time frames that are the problem. So we've got these nice lower highs here, lower lows. It's interacted with the standard deviation channel, so it is in an overbought area, but there haven't yet been signs of kind of making lower lows and lower highs on the lower time frames. On the 4 hourly, the hourly, 15-minute, it's all very sideways. It's all very choppy. It's in a box, if you like. So it's kind of hit the bottom here and come up again. So it's just in a kind of this range here where it's just bounced in between. And for a trend-based strategy, that's not what you want to see. You want to see definitive highs and lows in the price. So it still holds true what I said in the previous videos. Really what I want to see on the 4 hourly to consider shorts on this is a break of these levels. So this low here, I guess, is the one that sticks out the most. So moving past this, probably use the hourly now in terms of timing if I were to short this. But I would want to see on the hourly, blow it up, on the hourly, I would like to see a break past these lows. I mean, it could be that this is why it's never really a kind of a one answer that you can give to this, because it depends on how the price happens. It's kind of reading what the price does. I could be looking at a break of these lows here, so this support, or it could be this one, but it depends how these candles form. So what I'm looking for is a channel. So this would start to extend out. So imagine this coming out here like this, and for the price to break through, break these lows, and kind of start oscillating within this channel, making lower lows and lower highs, and ideally bouncing off either the average or the upper edge and start to move lower. Now, it doing that, it might be that it breaks past these previous lows, or it might be that it breaks past that previous low there. Doesn't matter which, but I'm just looking for the context of that to happen, and it's just not happening as of yet. But that's what I would need to see for a position to be considered. So yeah, Euro USD bearish overall, but still need to see a decent entry signal triggered. So this one, GBP AUD, is that tradable? Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, this is the same trade really as the AUD that I'm already in. Sorry, GBP NZD. So just look at these charts, very similar. You can see that kind of spike that we've got there. It's not exactly the same, but you can see this movement that we've had down. So just looking at the daily, and then this kind of overextended like pullback retrace that we saw that went above and beyond the standard deviation. If we go back to GBP AUD, it's a similar thing. So these pairs are correlated, which makes sense. So this wouldn't be a trade that I would look to get in myself now, but the premise for entry would be very similar to that of the GBP NZD that I'm in currently. Yeah, so yeah, shorts on this definitely. Stop losses on this, I would be thinking, if I were to trade this, I would be thinking let's see what high that is. I'd be thinking a stop loss above these highs. So rather than going for all the way above here, this lower high here, it's the same logic. It's a bit too far. So I'd want to clear these previous lower highs, or even go for the midway here, which would mean that 1-to-1 would be roughly roughly around these kinds of areas, so around the average of our standard deviation, which stacks as a trade. But yeah, I'm not looking to enter this at the moment. What else have we got? Yeah. Not great value for money. Want to see it pull back away from this average a bit more. So we can see like how this lower high here, when it's pulled away and it's come here, it's not on the average. So in this move here, the price is currently on the average of our standard deviation. For it to be value for money, it should move away from the average, and what we're anticipating is it gravitates back towards the average. At the moment, it's just, yeah, it's bang on there. So either see it interact, pull away and see reversals off of that, or if this were to hit the upper edge of the standard deviation, it would probably break the price structure, because it would take out this previous lower high. So yeah, no, wait and see. No, already in that. No. Yeah. USD CAD. This move on the USD CAD, it's not really great. Higher highs and higher lows, but 4 hourly is where the story's told on this, to be honest. And a few things that make this decent enough to consider a long position. So this price here is the same that we've captured in our standard deviation channel here. We've seen this find support off the standard deviation. If we put in a trend line, that will also be a nice area of support as well. And really, would I enter this right now? You could aggressively enter this with a stop below these previous lows, right? So, or below yesterday's low. Would that be yesterday's low? Just double check. Of course it would be. Yeah. So you can see this red line here. So you could aggressively go long on this and have a stop loss underneath this low here, and we're anticipating obviously moves higher. And with a 1-to-1 reward to risk, it would mean you've got about 55, let's call it stop loss, and 55 take profit around about here, this kind of level. So this is good based on the daily, because I mean it's still before our upper standard deviation channel, where it's going to be a bit overbought to consider. So entry here would kind of make sense, and obviously we'd get stopped out if it starts to make lower lows. But what worries me on this is how significant that resistance area is. This is quite strong. So we're seeing previous interactions here, here. There'd be more contact points on our hourly and 15-minute as well. So this is not great, because what we're doing, if you buy now, is be buying into that resistance. You don't want to buy into resistance. You want to ideally buy off of support. So a more conservative trade would be to wait for this to break and then to pull back and find some signs of support, either off of this level that would have broken. So some reversal candles, and you could use even let's go to 15 minutes. I'm looking at this move here as well, right, which on the 15-minute we'll see clearer. So this is the move upwards, and the levels that we're looking to break are these levels. Yeah, so seeing it break through that and come back and find support off of this level, or off of the average. So seeing some sort of reversal candle off of the average of the standard deviation. Obviously, so we'd be able to pull it out further, or even better, come back and find a reversal off of the lower edge of our standard deviation channel. That will give us a bit more value for money on this entry. But as it is right now, this area of resistance ideally should be broken to give a bit more value for money, if we see it break and then pull back. And no, Bitcoin, no. Okay, so that's it for today. Do subscribe to the site if you find what you watch useful. If you've got any questions about what I'm doing, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. But until tomorrow, I will see you later, and enjoy your trading. Take care. Bye.